The security guard grabbed Marcus Webb by the collar and shoved him toward the glass doors. "Get out, now. People like you don't belong here." Marcus clutched his 4-year-old daughter tighter against his chest. His voice cracked. "Please, I just need to check one card. My wife, she died. This is all she left me." The guard's grip tightened. "I said out." Then a woman's laugh cut through the marble lobby, cold, dismissive, cruel. She had no idea that in exactly 11 minutes, she would be begging this homeless-looking father to forgive her. "Drop a comment with your city name so I can see how far this story travels." Marcus Webb had not eaten in 2 days. He stood outside Sterling Trust Bank, his daughter Lily asleep against his shoulder, and stared at the building like a man staring at a locked gate to heaven. The January wind cut through his thin jacket. His shoes had holes in the soles, stuffed with cardboard that had gone soft from yesterday's rain. Lily stirred. Her small fingers clutched the collar of his shirt. "Daddy, I'm cold." "I know, baby. We're going inside now. It's warm inside." He pushed through the revolving door. The heat hit him first, clean, expensive heat that smelled like leather and fresh coffee. Then the stairs. A woman in a fur coat looked at him and stepped back, pulling her purse closer. A man in a gray suit wrinkled his nose like Marcus had tracked in something foul. Marcus kept walking. He approached the information desk, where a young woman with dark hair sat behind a computer. Her name tag read Maya. She looked up, and something flickered in her eyes, not disgust, but something close. Pity, maybe. "Can I help you?" Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a bank card. It was old, scratched, the silver logo faded from years of sitting unused in a drawer. "I need to check the balance on this card." Maya took it, turned it over. "Do you have an account with us, sir?" "I don't know. My wife?" His voice caught. He swallowed hard. "My wife left this to me. Before she died. I've never used it." Maya's expression softened. "I'm sorry for your loss. Let me see what I can do." She swiped the card through her terminal, frowned, swiped it again. "That's strange," she murmured. "What?" "The card is flagged for internal VIP access. I can't process it here." She looked up at him. "I need to take you to our private banking floor. Someone there can help you." Marcus felt his stomach drop. VIP. There must be a mistake. We didn't have any money. We couldn't even afford... He stopped himself. Maya stood. "Follow me, please." She led him through a set of frosted glass doors, down a hallway lined with oil paintings, into an elevator that rose silently to the 3rd floor. When the doors opened, Marcus stepped into a world he had only seen in movies. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, leather chairs that probably cost more than his car. Men and women in designer suits spoke in hushed voices, their watches glinting under the soft lights. Marcus held Lily tighter. She was still asleep, her breath warm against his neck. "Wait here," Maya said, gesturing to a chair near the back. "Someone will be with you shortly." Marcus sat down. The chair was so soft he almost sank into it. He looked around, feeling the weight of every stare, every whispered comment. A man in a pinstriped suit leaned toward his companion. "Security should handle this. We can't have people like that wandering around up here." Marcus heard every word. He said nothing. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Lily woke up. She rubbed her eyes and looked around confused. "Daddy, where are we?" "We're at a bank, sweetheart. We're checking on something Mommy left us." "Is Mommy here?" Marcus's chest tightened. "No, baby. Mommy's in heaven, remember?" Lily nodded slowly. "I miss her." "I miss her too." A door opened across the room. A woman stepped out. She was younger than Marcus expected, early 30s maybe, with sharp cheekbones and dark hair pulled back into a severe ponytail. She wore a black blazer that looked like it cost more than Marcus's rent. Her heels clicked against the marble floor like a metronome counting down to something inevitable. Her eyes swept over Marcus, the patched jacket, the worn shoes, the sleeping child with tangled hair. Something cold flickered behind her gaze, not curiosity, not sympathy. Judgment. She walked over her lips, curving into something that wasn't quite a smile. "I'm Diane Foster, Senior Account Director." She didn't offer her hand. "Maya tells me you have a card that needs attention." Marcus stood adjusting Lily on his hip. "Yes, ma'am. I just need to check the balance." Diane's eyebrow arched. "You don't know the balance." "No, my wife left it to me before she passed. I've never used it." "Your wife." Diane's tone was flat. "And when did she pass?" 3 months ago." 3 months. Diane tilted her head slightly. "You've been carrying around a bank card for 3 months and never once thought to check what was on it." Marcus felt heat rise to his face. "I didn't think there was anything on it. We were broke. We couldn't even afford her treatment at the end." "Then why come in now?" Marcus looked at Lily, then back at Diane. His voice dropped. "Because I'm out of options. I got evicted yesterday. I've got $43 to my name and a daughter who hasn't had a real meal in 3 days. I came here because my wife made me promise to keep this card, and I figured—" He stopped, his jaw tightening. "I figured maybe there was enough for groceries, maybe enough to get us through another week." Diane stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned on her heel. "Follow me." She led him to a desk near the window. The view stretched across the city glass towers, busy streets, a world that had no place for men like Marcus Webb. Diane sat down and gestured for him to do the same. He lowered himself into the chair carefully, like it might shatter beneath him. She inserted the card into her terminal. Typed something. Waited. "So," Diane said without looking up, "what did your wife do for a living?" "She was a pediatric nurse at Children's Memorial Hospital." "And you?" "I was a warehouse supervisor until Grace got sick. Then I quit to take care of her." Diane's fingers paused on the keyboard. "You quit your job to care for your dying wife." "Someone had to. And Lily was only 3. We couldn't afford full-time care." Diane said nothing. She resumed typing. The screen loaded slowly. Diane leaned forward, her eyes scanning the information. Then she stopped. Her fingers froze over the keyboard. Marcus watched her face. Something changed, a flicker of confusion, then disbelief, then something he couldn't name. "What?" Marcus asked. "What is it?" Diane didn't answer. She clicked through several screens, her movements faster now, almost frantic. She muttered something under her breath that Marcus couldn't hear. "Miss Foster, what's wrong? Is there a problem with the card?" Diane finally looked at him, and for the first time since he'd walked into the bank, there was no condescension in her eyes, only shock. "Mr. Webb," she said slowly, like she was choosing each word with surgical precision. "When was the last time you spoke to your wife about her finances?" "We didn't talk about money. There wasn't any money to talk about." "Are you sure about that?" "Lady, I'm positive. We were drowning in medical bills. I sold my truck to pay for her medication. We ate rice and beans for 6 months straight. There was no money." Diane turned the monitor toward him. Marcus stared at the screen. At first the numbers didn't make sense. They were too long arranged in a way that seemed like a computer error. Then he read them again. $91, $847, and $220. 00. The world tilted. Marcus gripped the edge of the desk. His vision blurred. His heart slammed against his ribs so hard he thought it might break through. "That's not—" His voice came out as a whisper. "That's not possible." Diane's face was pale. "The system doesn't make mistakes like this, Mr. Webb." $91 million. Marcus shook his head violently. No, there's been an error. Run it again." "I've run it 3 times. Then the account belongs to someone else, someone with the same name. This isn't my wife's money." Diane pulled up another screen. Grace Ellen Webb, born March 14, 1987. Died October 3, 2024. Children's Memorial Hospital Pediatric ICU nurse. Married to Marcus James Webb. She looked at him. "Is that your wife?" Marcus couldn't breathe. Lily tugged at his shirt. "Daddy, Daddy, what's wrong?" He couldn't answer. He couldn't move. He stared at the screen like it was showing him a ghost. $91 million. Grace had been dying. They had been eating rice and beans. He had sold everything they owned, the truck, her jewelry, his father's watch, just to keep the lights on, and the whole time she had been sitting on a fortune. Why didn't she tell him? Why did she let them suffer, Mr. Webb? Diane's voice cut through the fog. "I need to get my supervisor. This account, there are protocols for situations like this." Situations like what? Diane hesitated. High-value dormant accounts that suddenly become active. We need to verify the source of the funds. We need to make sure everything is legitimate. You think I'm lying? I didn't say that. But you're thinking it. Marcus's voice hardened. You took one look at me and decided I was trash. You think I'm running some kind of scam. Diane's jaw tightened. Mr. Webb, I'm just doing my job. Your job is to treat people like dirt. My job is to protect this institution from fraud. Fraud. Marcus laughed bitterly. Lady, I came in here hoping for enough money to buy my daughter a meal. You think I could fake $91 million? Before Diane could respond, a voice came from behind them. Is there a problem here? Marcus turned. A security guard stood a few feet away, tall, broad-shouldered, with a face like he'd never smiled in his life. Diane's expression shifted. Professional mask back in place. Everything's fine, Carl. Just a complicated account issue. Carl looked at Marcus, at his worn clothes, at Lily clutching her father's shirt. You sure? Because I've had complaints. Other clients feel uncomfortable. Marcus felt something snap inside him. Uncomfortable, I'm making them uncomfortable. Sir, I'm going to need you to lower your voice. I haven't raised my voice. I've been sitting here quietly while your clients whisper about me like I'm some kind of animal. Carl stepped closer. Sir, don't touch me. Marcus stood up, holding Lily protectively. I came here to check a card my dead wife left me. That's it. I haven't stolen anything. I haven't threatened anyone. I just want to know what's on this card. Carl's hand moved toward Marcus's arm. I said don't touch me. Sir, you need to calm down. I am calm. Lily started crying. The sound cut through Marcus like a knife. He looked down at her tear-streaked face, at the fear in her eyes, and something broke inside him. He sank back into the chair. He pulled Lily against his chest and held her, his hand stroking her hair. It's okay, baby. It's okay. Daddy's sorry. Daddy didn't mean to scare you. I want Mommy, Lily sobbed. I want Mommy. Marcus closed his eyes. He felt tears burn behind his eyelids. 3 months ago, Grace had died in their apartment holding his hand while Lily slept in the next room. Her voice had been so faint he'd had to press his ear to her lips to hear her. Keep the card, Marcus. Promise me. Don't lose it. He had promised. He hadn't asked why. There hadn't been time. Now he understood. She had known. She had known the whole time what was on that card. And she had chosen not to tell him. But why? Carl stood awkwardly unsure what to do. Diane watched Marcus with an expression he couldn't read. Then a new voice cut through the tension. What's going on here? An older man approached, silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of calm authority that came from decades of power. His name tag read, Robert Crane, Senior Vice President. Diane stood quickly. Mr. Crane, I was just about to call you. We have a situation. Crane looked at Marcus, at Lily still crying softly against his chest, at the security guard hovering nearby. Carl, you can go. I'll handle this. Sir, the other clients. I said I'll handle it. Carl hesitated, then walked away. Crane pulled a chair over and sat down across from Marcus. His voice was gentle. "Mr. Webb, is it?" Marcus nodded. "I apologize for any distress you've experienced. Can you tell me what happened?" Marcus took a shaky breath. "My wife died 3 months ago. She left me this card. I came here to check the balance." He laughed bitterly. "I was hoping for maybe a few $100s, enough for groceries. And instead there's $91 million, and I have no idea where it came from." Crane's eyebrows rose slightly. He looked at Diane. "Is this accurate?" "Yes, sir. I've verified it 3 times. The account is real. The funds are real. But we don't know the source." Crane turned back to Marcus. "Mr. Webb, do you have any idea how your wife could have accumulated this kind of wealth?" "No. We had nothing. We were broke. I don't understand any of this." Crane studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Let's find out together. Miss Foster, pull up the full account history. Every deposit, every transaction. Let's see where this money came from." Diane's fingers flew across the keyboard. Pages of data scrolled across the screen. Crane leaned in, reading carefully. Marcus watched their faces, saw Diane's eyes widen, saw Crane's expression shift from curiosity to surprise to something that looked almost like awe. "What?" Marcus demanded. "What is it?" Crane sat back in his chair. He looked at Marcus with new eyes. "Mr. Webb, have you ever heard of the Wellington Family Trust?" "No." "The Wellingtons are one of the wealthiest families on the East Coast. Old money, very private, very powerful." "What does that have to do with my wife?" Crane exchanged a glance with Diane. Then he turned the monitor toward Marcus. 5 years ago, your wife donated part of her liver. The recipient was a 7-year-old girl named Emma Wellington, the only child of Richard and Catherine Wellington. Emma was dying of a rare liver disease. Your wife saved her life." Marcus stared at the screen, at the medical records, at Grace's signature on the consent forms. "She never told me," he whispered. "According to these records, she requested complete anonymity. She didn't want recognition. She didn't want compensation." "Then where did the money come from?" Crane's voice was quiet. "The Wellingtons insisted on setting up a trust. They wanted to repay her. But your wife refused to accept any money while she was alive, so they set up a contingency. The full amount would transfer to her designated beneficiary upon her death." Marcus's hands were shaking. "She knew. She knew this whole time. We were drowning in debt. We couldn't afford her cancer treatment. And she was sitting on $90 million. "She didn't want it," Crane said gently. "She saved a child's life, and she didn't want anything in return. The only reason you're receiving this money now is because she couldn't stop it from transferring after she died." Marcus looked down at Lily, still nestled against his chest. She had stopped crying. Her eyes were closed, her breathing steady. Grace had saved a little girl's life. And then she had refused to touch a penny of the reward, even when they had nothing, even when she was dying, even when accepting the money could have bought her more time. She had given everything, and she had never said a word. "Why?" Marcus's voice broke. "Why would she do that?" Crane leaned forward. "Because some people believe that certain things shouldn't have a price tag. Your wife saved a child's life out of pure goodness. Taking money for it would have felt wrong to her." He paused. "But she made sure you would be taken care of after she was gone. She set you as the beneficiary. She left you that card. She made you promise to keep it." Marcus remembered Grace's voice, faint and fading. "Keep the card, Marcus. Don't lose it. Promise me." She had known he would need it. She had known he would come here eventually desperate and broken. And she had made sure that when he did, everything would be waiting for him. Even in death, she was taking care of him. Marcus pressed his face into Lily's hair and wept. He wept for Grace, for the wife who had loved him so completely that she had sacrificed everything without ever asking for recognition. He wept for the years they should have had together, the vacations they should have taken, the dreams they should have chased. He wept for Lily, who would grow up without her mother never knowing how extraordinary she had been. And he wept for himself, for the guilt of not knowing, for the shame of having doubted, for the weight of a love so profound that he would spend the rest of his life trying to be worthy of it. Diane watched him cry. Something shifted in her expression, the coldness melting away, replaced by something raw and human. She had misjudged him. She had looked at his clothes, his desperation, his poverty, and she had decided he was nothing. But he wasn't nothing. He was a man who had given up everything to care for his dying wife. A man who was raising his daughter alone with nothing but love and determination. A man whose wife had trusted him so completely that she had left him $91 million without ever telling him it existed. He was the opposite of nothing. He was everything. Crane reached out and placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Mr. Webb, take all the time you need. When you're ready, we'll help you figure out what comes next." Marcus lifted his head. His eyes were red, his face wet with tears. But something had changed in them, a spark of something that hadn't been there before. Hope. "I don't know how to do this," Marcus said quietly. "I don't know anything about money, about investments, about any of this." "You don't have to know," Crane said. "That's what we're here for." Marcus looked at Diane. She held his gaze without flinching. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, "for how I treated you. I made assumptions. I was wrong." Marcus studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "My wife used to say that everyone deserves a second chance. She believed that people could change." He looked down at Lily still sleeping peacefully in his arms. "She was the best person I ever knew, and she believed in grace, in forgiveness, in seeing the good in people, even when they didn't show it." He looked back at Diane. "So I'm going to give you that second chance, because that's what Grace would want." Diane's eyes glistened. She nodded, unable to speak. Crane stood up. "Mr. Webb, let's get you and your daughter something to eat. Then we'll start the process of transferring everything into your name." Marcus rose slowly, Lily still in his arms. He looked around the room at the marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the wealthy clients who had whispered about him like he was beneath them. None of it mattered anymore, because Grace had given him something worth more than $91 million. She had given him proof that love, real love, selfless love, sacrificial love, was the most powerful force in the universe, and he would spend the rest of his life honoring that gift. Crane led Marcus through a set of mahogany doors into a private conference room. The table was long enough to seat 20 people, but only 4 chairs were occupied. Crane at the head. Diane to his right, Marcus holding Lily across from her, and a woman Marcus hadn't seen before. "This is Helen Park," Crane said. "She's our head of compliance. Given the size of this account, we need her involved." Helen Park didn't smile. She was maybe 50 with steel gray hair cut short and glasses that made her eyes look twice their size. She studied Marcus the way a scientist studies a specimen. "Mr. Webb." Her voice was flat. "I've reviewed the preliminary documentation. Before we proceed, I need to ask you some questions." Marcus shifted Lily to his other arm. "Okay. Did you have any knowledge of this account prior to today?" "No." "Did your wife ever mention the Wellington family to you?" "Never." "Did she ever discuss a liver donation?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "No, she never said a word." Helen made a note on her tablet. "Mr. Webb, you understand that an account of this magnitude requires extensive verification. We need to confirm that you are who you say you are, that your wife was who you say she was, and that the transfer of funds is legitimate." "I understand." "Good. Because if anything is irregular, anything at all, we will freeze the account and involve federal authorities." Marcus felt his stomach clench. Are you accusing me of something? I'm doing my job, Mr. Webb. $91 million doesn't appear out of nowhere. People don't just walk into banks with cards worth that much money. I didn't know what was on the card. I told you that. So you've said. Helen's eyes didn't waver. But you'll forgive me if I verify rather than trust. Crane cleared his throat. Helen, let's not get ahead of ourselves. The account history is clean. The Wellington Trust is one of the most reputable foundations in the country. There's no indication of fraud. There's no indication yet, Helen corrected. That doesn't mean there won't be. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. He had walked into this bank hoping for grocery money. Now he was being treated like a criminal. Lady, I don't know what you want from me. My wife died 3 months ago. I've been living in my car with my daughter. I came here because I had nowhere else to go. If you think I'm running some kind of scam, then freeze the account. Call the FBI. Do whatever you need to do, but don't sit there and treat me like garbage while my daughter is hungry. Helen's expression didn't change. Your daughter is hungry. She hasn't had a real meal in 3 days. Helen looked at Lily, who was watching her with wide, tired eyes. Something flickered behind those oversized glasses, not sympathy exactly, but something close to it. Diane, Helen said without looking away from Lily. Order some food from the cafe downstairs, whatever the child wants. Diane stood. Of course. She looked at Marcus. What does Lily like? Marcus blinked, caught off guard by the sudden shift. She likes chicken nuggets and apple juice. Diane nodded and left the room. Helen turned back to Marcus. Mr. Webb, I apologize if I've been harsh, but you need to understand my position. When someone walks into a bank with an account worth nearly $100 million, I have to be skeptical. It's my job. I get it. Do you... Helen leaned forward. Do you understand what kind of attention this money is going to attract? Once word gets out, and it will get out, you're going to have people coming out of the woodwork. Distant relatives you've never met, old friends who suddenly remember you, charities, scammers, lawyers looking to sue you for anything they can think of. Marcus hadn't thought about any of that. He'd been so focused on surviving the next day that he hadn't considered what came after. What am I supposed to do? You're supposed to be careful. You're supposed to trust no one until they've earned it. You're supposed to protect yourself and that little girl. Marcus looked down at Lily. She had fallen asleep again, her head resting against his chest. I don't know how to do any of this, he admitted quietly. I was a warehouse supervisor. I loaded trucks for a living. I don't know anything about money or investments or any of this stuff. Helen's expression softened slightly. That's why we're here. But, Mr. Webb, I need you to be completely honest with me. No secrets, no surprises. If there's anything at all that you haven't told us, now is the time. Marcus met her eyes. I've told you everything I know. My wife kept this from me. I don't know why. Maybe she thought I wouldn't understand. Maybe she wanted to protect me. I don't know. But I'm not hiding anything. Helen studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. All right. Let's proceed. The next 2 hours were a blur of paperwork and questions. Marcus signed document after document, each one explained carefully by Crane or Helen. Diane returned with food for Lily, who woke up long enough to eat chicken nuggets and drink her apple juice before falling asleep again in a chair that cost more than Marcus's monthly rent used to be. They verified his identity with 3 different forms of ID. They pulled up Grace's death certificate, their marriage license, Lily's birth certificate. They cross-referenced everything with hospital records, employment history, tax returns. Through it all, Marcus answered every question honestly. He had nothing to hide. He had come here with nothing expected, nothing, and found everything. By the time they finished, it was past 4 in the afternoon. Marcus's head was pounding. His eyes burned from exhaustion. But the account was verified. The money was real, and it was his. Mr. Webb, Crane said, gathering the final stack of papers. Everything is in order. The account will be fully transferred to your name by tomorrow morning. In the meantime, we've set up a temporary checking account with $50,000 for your immediate needs. $50,000. Marcus almost laughed. 3 days ago, he would have killed for $50. There's one more thing, Crane continued. The Wellington family has been notified of the transfer. It's standard protocol they establish the trust, so they receive updates on any major transactions. Marcus tensed. Do they know about me? They know the funds have been claimed by the designated beneficiary. They don't know your name or location. But, Crane hesitated. They've requested a meeting. A meeting why? I don't know. Their attorney contacted us about an hour ago. They want to meet the person their daughter's savior chose to leave everything to. Marcus felt a chill run through him. I don't want anything to do with them. You don't have to meet them. The money is yours regardless. But I wanted you to know that they asked. Marcus thought about it. These were the people who had given Grace $91 million for saving their daughter. They had respected her wish for anonymity. They had set up the trust exactly the way she wanted. Maybe they weren't bad people. Maybe they just wanted to thank him. Or maybe they wanted something else. I'll think about it, Marcus said. Crane nodded. Take your time. There's no pressure. Diane stood and walked over to Marcus. She handed him a business card. My direct line, she said. If you need anything at all, call me. Marcus looked at the card, then at her. The woman who had laughed at him this morning was offering him her personal number. Why? He asked. Diane's expression flickered. Because I was wrong about you. And because... She glanced at Lily still asleep in the chair. Because your daughter deserves someone who's going to fight for her. I want to help you do that. Marcus didn't know what to say, so he just nodded and put the card in his pocket. There's a hotel across the street, Crane said. The Hamilton. We've arranged a suite for you and Lily. Everything is taken care of. I can't. Mr. Webb. Crane held up a hand. You have $91 million. You can afford a hotel room. Let us do this for you. Just for tonight. Tomorrow we'll help you figure out the rest. Marcus looked at Lily. At her tangled hair and dirty clothes. At the dark circles under her eyes. She deserved a bed. A real bed with clean sheets and a soft pillow. She deserved a bath and warm pajamas and a good night's sleep. Okay, Marcus said quietly. Thank you. Crane smiled. Get some rest. We'll see you tomorrow. Marcus carried Lily out of the conference room through the VIP lounge, down the elevator, and across the lobby. The same people who had stared at him this morning were gone now, replaced by a different set of wealthy faces. None of them looked at him. He was invisible again. But this time he didn't mind. He pushed through the revolving door and stepped out into the January cold. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The Hamilton Hotel stood across the street, its windows glowing warm against the winter darkness. Marcus started walking. He was halfway across the street when a voice stopped him. Mr. Webb! He turned. A man was approaching, young, maybe 30, with slicked back hair and a suit that didn't quite fit right. He was smiling, but there was something hungry in his eyes. Mr. Webb, I'm Jason Cross. I'm a reporter with the Tribune. I was hoping I could ask you a few questions. Marcus's blood ran cold. How do you know my name? Sources, Mr. Webb. I have sources everywhere. Jason pulled out his phone. Is it true that you just inherited nearly $100 million from a secret trust? Marcus took a step back. I don't know what you're talking about. Come on, Mr. Webb, this is a great story. Single father down on his luck suddenly becomes one of the richest men in the city. People love stories like this. I'm not interested. Are you sure? Because I'm going to write this story either way. It would be better if I had your side of it. Marcus felt panic rising in his chest. Helen's words echoed in his mind. Once word gets out, and it will get out, you're going to have people coming out of the woodwork. It had been less than an hour, and it was already starting. "Leave me alone," Marcus said. He turned and walked toward the hotel as fast as he could without running. Jason followed. Or Esther. Webb. Just a few questions. How did your wife accumulate this kind of wealth? Was she involved in anything illegal? What are your plans for the money? Marcus reached the hotel entrance. He pushed through the doors and almost collided with a bellhop. "Sir, are you all right?" "There's a man following me, a reporter. I need—" Marcus stopped, not sure what he needed. The bellhop looked past him at Jason, who was standing just outside the doors, his phone still in his hand. "I understand, sir. Security will handle him." The bellhop spoke into a radio on his shoulder. "We have a situation at the front entrance. Press harassment." Within seconds, 2 security guards appeared. They moved toward Jason, blocking his path. "Sir, you need to leave the premises." Jason held up his hands. "I'm just doing my job." "Do your job somewhere else." Marcus watched as Jason was escorted away from the hotel. The reporter looked back once his eyes meeting Marcus's through the glass. He smiled a cold, knowing smile, and then he was gone. Marcus's hands were shaking. He looked down at Lily, still asleep in his arms, oblivious to everything. How had the reporter found out so fast? Who had told him Mr. Webb? Marcus turned. A woman in a hotel uniform was approaching her, smile warm and professional. "I'm Sarah, the concierge." Mr. Crane called ahead. "We have your suite ready." She gestured toward the elevators. "If you'll follow me." Marcus followed her through the lobby past fountains and chandeliers and people who probably belonged here. The elevator rose smoothly to the top floor. The doors opened onto a hallway with only 2 doors. Sarah led him to the one on the right. "The presidential suite. I hope it meets your needs." She opened the door and Marcus stepped inside. The room was bigger than his entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city. There was a living room, a dining room, a kitchen, and 2 bedrooms, each with its own bathroom. Fresh flowers sat on every table. A fruit basket waited on the counter. Marcus stood in the middle of it all, holding his daughter, feeling like he had stepped into someone else's life. "Is there anything you need, Mr. Webb?" Marcus turned to Sarah. "How much does this room cost?" Sarah smiled. "Everything has been taken care of, sir. You don't need to worry about the cost." "But how much?" Sarah hesitated. $4,000 a night." Marcus almost dropped Lily. $4,000. For one night. He had lived for months on less than that. "Is something wrong, sir?" Marcus shook his head slowly. "No, nothing's wrong. Thank you." Sarah nodded and left, closing the door softly behind her. Marcus stood alone in the presidential suite, his daughter in his arms, and tried to remember how to breathe. $4,000 a night. $50,000 in a checking account. 91 million waiting for him tomorrow. And a reporter who already knew everything. Marcus carried Lily to one of the bedrooms and laid her gently on the king-sized bed. She stirred slightly, then settled into the pillows with a soft sigh. He pulled off her shoes and covered her with the comforter. Then he sat down on the edge of the bed and watched her sleep. She looked so peaceful, so innocent. She had no idea what was happening, no idea that their lives had just changed in ways Marcus couldn't begin to understand. He thought about Grace. He thought about the woman who had shared his bed for 7 years, who had given him a daughter who had fought cancer with everything she had. He thought about all the nights they had lain awake, talking about their dreams, their fears, their hopes for Lily's future. Not once, not a single time had she mentioned the Wellington family. Not once had she mentioned saving a little girl's life. Not once had she mentioned $91 million. She had kept it all secret. She had let them struggle, let them suffer, let them lose everything, and she had never said a word. Why Marcus didn't understand. He wanted to be angry. He wanted to feel betrayed. But all he felt was a profound, overwhelming sadness. Grace had given everything she had, her time, her health, part of her own body, to save a stranger's child. And then she had refused to take anything in return. That was who she was. That was the woman he had married. And now she was gone, and he was sitting in a hotel room that cost more per night than he used to make in a week, and none of it made sense. His phone buzzed. He pulled it out and looked at the screen. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. Hello. Mr. Webb. A woman's voice, older with a slight accent he couldn't place. My name is Catherine Wellington. Marcus's breath caught. How did you get this number? Mr. Crane gave it to me. I hope that's all right. Marcus stood up and walked to the window, keeping his voice low so he wouldn't wake Lily. What do you want? There was a pause on the other end. I want to thank you. Thank me for what? For being the man your wife chose, for being the father of her child, for being worthy of her love. Marcus felt tears burning behind his eyes. You didn't know her. No, I didn't. She wouldn't let me. Catherine's voice wavered slightly. She saved my daughter's life, Mr. Webb. Emma was 7 years old and dying. The doctors had given up. We had tried everything, every treatment, every specialist, every miracle cure we could find. Nothing worked. And then your wife appeared like an angel sent from heaven. She gave Emma part of her liver. She gave her a chance to live. Marcus closed his eyes. She never told me. I know. She made us promise never to contact her. She said she didn't want recognition. She said she just wanted to help. We tried to give her money. We would have given her anything, but she refused. She said saving Emma was enough. Then why the trust? Why $91 million? Catherine's voice broke. Because we couldn't let it go. We couldn't let her save our daughter's life and give her nothing in return. So we set up the trust. We told ourselves that even if she never used the money, it would be there. And if something happened to her... Catherine paused. If something happened to her, it would go to whoever she loved most. Marcus pressed his forehead against the cold glass of the window. She was sick for 2 years. We couldn't afford her treatment. We lost everything. And the whole time this money was just sitting there. I know, and I'm sorry. We wanted to help. We begged her to let us help. But she refused every time. She said the money wasn't for her. She said it was for after. After. After she was gone. For you. For your daughter. She knew she was dying, Mr. Webb, and she wanted to make sure you would be okay. Marcus's chest heaved. He pressed his free hand against the window, steadying himself. I don't understand, he whispered. I don't understand why she did this. Because she loved you. More than anything. More than money. More than her own life. Catherine's voice was thick with emotion. She told me once, the only time she ever spoke to me directly, she told me that you were the best man she had ever known. That Lily was the greatest gift she had ever received. That the two of you were her whole world. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. He didn't try to stop them. I miss her, he said. God, I miss her so much. I know. And I'm sorry. I wish I could bring her back. I wish I could give you more than money. Catherine paused. But money is all I have. So please, Mr. Webb, please take it. Please use it to build the life she wanted for you. Please honor her memory by being the father Lily deserves. Marcus wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Why are you calling me? What do you want? I want to meet you. I want to meet the man my daughter's savior loved. Her voice softened. And I want you to meet Emma. She's 12 now. Beautiful, healthy, full of life. Because of your wife. Marcus thought about Grace. About the secret she had kept for years. About the sacrifice she had made without ever asking for recognition. She had saved a little girl's life. And that little girl had grown up. Had lived. Had thrived. Because of Grace. Okay, Marcus said quietly. I'll meet you. Thank you, Mr. Webb. You don't know what this means to me. Call me Marcus. There was a smile in Catherine's voice. Thank you, Marcus. I'll have my assistant contact you to arrange the details. Mrs. Wellington. Yes. Marcus looked back at Lily, still sleeping peacefully on the bed. Thank you. For setting up the trust. For making sure Grace's wish was honored. For everything. It was the least we could do. Your wife saved my daughter's life. I would have given her the world if she had let me. They said goodbye and hung up. Marcus stood at the window for a long time, watching the lights of the city below, thinking about Grace and Emma, and all the threads that connected them. His phone buzzed again. A text message from an unknown number. This is Jason Cross from the Tribune. I'm running the story tomorrow with or without your comment. Last chance to tell your side. Marcus stared at the message. His heart started pounding again. He thought about calling Crane about asking for help, but it was almost 9 o'clock. Too late to bother anyone. He thought about calling Diane. She had given him her card, told him to call if he needed anything. He pulled out her card and dialed the number. She answered on the second ring. Mr. Webb. There's a reporter, Jason Cross. He knows about the money. He's running a story tomorrow. Diane was silent for a moment. How much does he know? Everything, I think. He said he has sources. Someone inside the bank. Diane's voice hardened. I'll handle it. How? I have lawyers on retainer who specialize in situations like this. They can file an injunction, delay the story, maybe kill it entirely. Can they do that? They can try. But Mr. Webb, Marcus, you need to understand something. This story is going to come out eventually. You can't hide $91 million forever. The best we can do is control the narrative. Marcus rubbed his eyes. He was so tired. What does that mean? It means we get ahead of it. We tell your story our way before he tells it his way. We make you sympathetic. Single father, tragic loss, wife's secret sacrifice. People will root for you. I don't want people rooting for me. I just want to be left alone. I know, but that's not an option anymore. Diane's voice softened. I'm sorry, Marcus. I know this isn't what you wanted, but this is your reality now. The sooner you accept it, the better. Marcus looked at Lily. At her peaceful face, her tangled hair, her tiny hand curled against her cheek. She deserved better than this. She deserved a father who knew what he was doing, a father who could protect her from the wolves circling outside. What do I need to do? Marcus asked. Get some sleep. I'll make some calls tonight. Tomorrow morning we'll sit down and figure out a plan. Okay. And Marcus, yeah, you're going to be okay. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you're going to be okay. Marcus wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe that everything would work out, that the story wouldn't destroy his life, that he could protect Lily from everything coming their way. But he had learned a long time ago that wanting something didn't make it true. Thanks, Diane, for everything. Get some sleep. She hung up. Marcus set down his phone and walked back to the bedroom. Lily was still sleeping. He lay down beside her, pulling her small body against his chest. She stirred slightly, then settled into him with a sigh. Daddy, she murmured. I'm here, baby. I had a dream about Mommy. Marcus's throat tightened. Yeah. What was she doing? She was smiling. She said she loves us. Marcus pressed his lips to the top of Lily's head. She does, sweetheart. She loves us so much. I miss her. I miss her too. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Daddy, are we going to be okay? Marcus thought about the money, about the reporter, about the Wellingtons, about all the unknowns waiting for them tomorrow. Yeah, baby, he said softly. We're going to be okay. He held her until she fell asleep. Then he lay there in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe. $91 million. A reporter with sources. A family who wanted to meet him. A world that was about to turn upside down. Marcus had walked into that bank this morning with nothing. Now he had everything. And he had never been more terrified in his life. Marcus woke to the sound of his phone ringing. He reached for it blindly, his eyes still heavy with sleep. The screen showed Diane's name. He answered. "Turn on the news." Her voice was tight. Marcus sat up slowly, careful not to wake Lily. "What channel?" "Any channel. It's everywhere." He found the remote on the nightstand and turned on the television. A morning news anchor was speaking, her face grave, with the kind of practiced concern that came from years of delivering other people's tragedies. The story that has captivated the city overnight. A homeless single father walked into Sterling Trust Bank yesterday morning and discovered he had inherited nearly $100 million from his late wife. Sources inside the bank confirmed that Marcus Webb, 34, was living in his car with his 4-year-old daughter when he made the discovery. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. The screen showed a photo of him, God knows where they got it, looking haggard and desperate. Next to it, a photo of Grace from years ago, smiling in her nurse's uniform. Webb's wife, Grace Webb, reportedly saved the life of a child from one of the wealthiest families in the country by donating part of her liver. She kept the act secret from her husband and refused all compensation. The money was held in trust until her death 3 months ago from cancer. Marcus couldn't breathe. They knew everything, every detail, every secret. The Wellington family has declined to comment, but sources close to the family say they are deeply concerned about the publicity. Meanwhile, Jason Cross of the Tribune broke the story early this morning, citing multiple sources inside Sterling Trust Bank. The anchor moved on to another story. Marcus turned off the television. His phone was ringing again. He looked at the screen, unknown number. Then another call. Then another. His phone lit up with notifications, missed calls, voicemails, text messages from numbers he didn't recognize. Lily stirred beside him. "Daddy. What's wrong?" Marcus forced himself to breathe. "Nothing, sweetheart. Everything's fine." "Why is your phone making so much noise?" "I'm going to turn it off for a little while, okay?" He powered down the phone and set it on the nightstand. "Let's get you some breakfast." He helped Lily wash her face and brush her teeth with the complimentary toiletries the hotel had provided. She was still wearing the same clothes from yesterday, but at least she was clean. At least she was safe. The hotel phone rang. Marcus hesitated, then picked it up. "Hello?" "Mr. Webb. This is Sarah at the front desk. I'm sorry to disturb you, but there are several reporters in the lobby asking to speak with you. Security is holding them back, but they're quite persistent." Marcus closed his eyes. "Don't let anyone up." "Of course, sir. Is there anything else you need?" "Can you have breakfast sent up for my daughter?" "Right away, sir. What would she like?" Marcus looked at Lily, who was sitting on the bed watching him with worried eyes. "Pancakes. With chocolate chips if you have them." "We'll have it up in 15 minutes." Marcus hung up. He walked over to Lily and knelt down in front of her. "Hey, baby girl, I need to tell you something." Lily's eyes widened. "Are we in trouble?" "No, sweetheart, we're not in trouble. But some people want to talk to Daddy today. A lot of people. And they might say things about Mommy." "What kind of things?" Marcus took her small hands in his. "Good things. Mommy did something very special before she got sick. She helped save a little girl's life. And some people want to know about it." Lily's face lit up. "Mommy saved someone?" "She did. She was very brave. Like a superhero." Marcus smiled despite everything. "Yeah, baby, like a superhero." There was a knock at the door. Marcus stood and looked through the peephole. A hotel employee with a room service cart. He opened the door, took the tray, and thanked the woman. Lily's eyes went wide when she saw the stack of pancakes covered in chocolate chips. "Daddy, look!" "I see. Eat up, sweetheart." While Lily ate, Marcus turned his phone back on. It immediately started buzzing with notifications. He ignored them and called Diane. "I saw the news," he said when she answered. "I know. I'm sorry, Marcus. We tried to stop it, but Cross had too much information. The injunction couldn't hold." "How did he get all of it?" "The details about Grace. The donation. Everything. Diane was silent for a moment. We're investigating. Someone inside the bank talked. When we find out who, they'll be terminated and prosecuted. That doesn't help me now. I know. But Marcus, we need to get ahead of this. The story is out there. The only thing we can control now is how you respond. I don't want to respond. I want to disappear. That's not an option anymore. Every news outlet in the country is trying to find you. If you stay silent, they'll fill in the blanks themselves. They'll make up whatever story gets the most clicks. Marcus rubbed his eyes. What do you want me to do? I want you to give an interview. One interview to a journalist we choose on our terms. You tell your story, the real story. The struggling father, the sick wife, the secret sacrifice. You make people understand who Grace was and why she did what she did. And if I don't, then Jason Cross and people like him will define your story for you. And trust me, Marcus, you don't want that. Marcus looked at Lily happily eating her pancakes, chocolate smeared across her cheeks. She had no idea what was happening. No idea that her life was about to be turned inside out. Fine, Marcus said. Set it up. Good. I'll make some calls. In the meantime, stay in the hotel. Don't talk to anyone. What about the Wellingtons Mrs. Wellington wanted to meet today? Diane paused. I'd hold off on that, at least until we get the media situation under control. She already knows about the story. She's probably seen the news. Which is exactly why you should wait. The last thing you need is to be photographed meeting with one of the wealthiest families in America. It'll look like what? Like you're cashing in. Like you're using Grace's death to climb the social ladder. Marcus felt anger flare in his chest. That's not what this is. I know that. You know that. But the public doesn't know that. They see a homeless man who suddenly has $100 million meeting with the family who gave him the money. What do you think they're going to assume? Marcus wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. He had seen how quickly people judged him at the bank. He had seen the looks, heard the whispers. The world had already decided who he was. Fine, I'll wait. Good. I'll call you back in an hour with details about the interview. She hung up. Marcus set down his phone and watched Lily finish her pancakes. His phone buzzed. A text message from Catherine Wellington. I've seen the news. I'm so sorry this happened. Please know that my family had nothing to do with the leak. We would never betray Grace's memory like that. Marcus stared at the message. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe that not everyone in the world was out to use him. He typed a response. I believe you, but I can't meet today. Too many reporters. The reply came quickly. I understand. But Marcus, there's something you need to know. Something the reporters don't have. Something about Grace. Marcus's heart started pounding. What is it? Not over text. It needs to be in person. Can you come to my home? I'll send a car. Private entrance. No one will see you. Marcus hesitated. Diane had told him to wait. Diane had told him not to go anywhere. But Catherine Wellington knew something about Grace. Something important. What time? Marcus typed. 2 o'clock. I'll send the address. Marcus looked at Lily. Hey, baby girl. How would you feel about going on a little adventure today? Lily's face lit up. What kind of adventure? We're going to meet some nice people. Friends of Mommy's. Mommy's friends? That's right. Lily bounced on the bed. Can I bring my bear? Marcus smiled. You can bring your bear. At exactly 2 o'clock, a black sedan pulled up to the service entrance of the hotel. Marcus carried Lily through the kitchen, past confused staff members and out the back door. A driver in a dark suit held the door open for them. Mr. Webb, Mrs. Wellington is expecting you. Marcus buckled Lily into the back seat and climbed in beside her. The car pulled away smoothly, gliding through the city streets like a ship through calm water. Lily pressed her face against the window. Daddy, look at all the tall buildings. I see them, sweetheart. Are Mommy's friends rich? Marcus hesitated. I think so, baby. Are we rich now too? Marcus didn't know how to answer that. He was still trying to understand what rich even meant. Yesterday, he had been counting pennies for gas. Today, he had more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. We're going to be okay, Marcus said finally. That's what matters. The car turned onto a tree-lined street and stopped in front of a gate. The driver spoke into an intercom, and the gate swung open. They drove up a long driveway and stopped in front of a house that looked more like a palace. Marcus's throat tightened. This was where Grace's money had come from. This was the family she had saved. The driver opened the door. Marcus lifted Lily out and set her on the ground. She clutched her one-eared bear and stared up at the house with wide eyes. It's so big, Daddy. It is. The front door opened, and a woman stepped out. She was older than Marcus expected, maybe 60, with silver hair and kind eyes. She wore a simple dress, no jewelry except for a wedding ring. She didn't look like a billionaire. She looked like someone's grandmother. Marcus. She walked toward him and took his hands in hers. Thank you for coming. Mrs. Wellington. Please call me Catherine. She looked down at Lily. And who is this beautiful girl? Lily hid behind Marcus's leg. I'm Lily. Catherine smiled warmly. Hello, Lily. I'm Catherine. I was a friend of your mommy's. Lily peeked out. You knew my mommy. I did. She was a very special person. Lily seemed to consider this. Then she held up her bear. This is Mr. Buttons. Well, hello, Mr. Buttons. It's very nice to meet you. Lily smiled shyly. Catherine straightened and gestured toward the house. Please come inside. There's someone I'd like you to meet. Marcus followed her into the house, holding Lily's hand. The interior was elegant but warm, nothing like the cold marble of the bank. Family photos lined the walls. Fresh flowers sat on every table. Catherine led them into a sitting room where a girl was waiting. She was maybe 12 or 13, with long brown hair and bright eyes. She sat on the couch with a book in her lap, but she set it aside when they entered. Marcus, this is my granddaughter Emma, the girl your wife saved. Emma stood and walked toward them. She was tall for her age, healthy and vibrant. Nothing about her suggested she had once been a dying 7-year-old. Mr. Webb. Her voice was soft but steady. I've wanted to meet you for a long time. Marcus felt his throat close up. This was her. This was the child Grace had saved. The reason Grace had given part of herself, had kept a secret for years, had refused millions of dollars. You can call me Marcus, he managed. Emma nodded. Then she looked down at Lily. And you must be Lily. Your mom told me about you. Lily's eyes widened. She did? She showed me your picture. She said you were the best thing that ever happened to her. Lily's face crumpled. I miss my mommy. Emma knelt down so she was eye level with the little girl. I know. I miss her too. She was the bravest person I ever met. You knew her. I only met her once, but she saved my life. Emma took Lily's hand gently. I was very sick when I was little. The doctors said I was going to die. But your mommy helped me. She made me better. Lily looked up at Marcus' confusion and pride warring on her small face. Mommy saved her daddy. Marcus nodded, unable to speak. Emma squeezed Lily's hand. Would you like to see my room? I have a lot of stuffed animals. Maybe Mr. Buttons would like some friends. Lily looked at Marcus for permission. He nodded. Go ahead, sweetheart. I'll be right here. Emma led Lily out of the room, chattering about her stuffed animal collection. Catherine watched them go, her eyes glistening. She's a remarkable girl, Catherine said quietly. Because of your wife, she gets to grow up. She gets to have a life. Marcus sank into a chair. Mrs. Wellington. Catherine, you said you had something to tell me. About Grace. Catherine sat down across from him. She was quiet for a long moment, as if gathering her thoughts. When Grace donated part of her liver, she was already sick. Marcus's blood ran cold. What? The cancer. It was already there. Small, undetectable on routine scans, but there. She knew something was wrong with her body. She had been feeling tired losing weight, but she went through with the donation anyway. Marcus felt the room spinning. Are you saying she knew? She knew she was sick when she saved Emma? The doctors didn't catch it until 6 months after the surgery. But looking back at the scans, the markers were there. Subtle, but there. Catherine's voice was thick with emotion. She could have waited. She could have had herself checked first. But Emma was dying. There was no time to wait. Marcus pressed his hands against his face. She sacrificed herself. She saved my granddaughter knowing it might cost her everything. And then she refused to tell you because she didn't want you to feel guilty. She didn't want you to think she had traded her life for Emma's. But she did. She did trade her life. No. Catherine leaned forward. The cancer would have killed her regardless. The doctors were clear about that. But the donation, the stress on her body, it accelerated things. By the time they found it, it had already spread. Marcus couldn't breathe. He couldn't think. All this time, he had thought Grace died because of bad luck, because of a random mutation in her cells. But it hadn't been random. She had pushed her body past its limits to save a stranger's child, and she had paid for it with her life. Why didn't she tell me? Marcus whispered. Because she knew you would blame yourself. She knew you would spend the rest of your life wondering if you could have stopped her, if you could have saved her. She wanted you to remember her as a wife and mother, not as a martyr. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. He didn't try to stop them. She was so stubborn, he said. Always trying to protect everyone else. Never letting anyone take care of her. She loved you more than anything in the world. Catherine reached out and took his hand. She talked about you constantly during her recovery. Marcus this, Marcus that. How you made her laugh. How you looked at her like she was the most beautiful woman in the world. How you held Lily for the first time and cried. Marcus laughed through his tears. I cried like a baby. She said it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. They sat in silence for a moment. Marcus wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. The money, he said. Why so much? Why $91 million? Catherine smiled sadly. Because that's what Emma's life was worth to us. Every penny we had. We would have given more if we could. She never would have taken it. I know. That's why we set it up the way we did. For after. Catherine squeezed his hand. She wanted you to have it, Marcus. When she found out about the trust, when our lawyers explained what we had done, she was angry at first. She called me herself to demand we cancel it. What changed her mind? Lily. I told her to think about Lily's future. College, a home, security. Things she wouldn't be able to provide if the cancer took her. Catherine's voice cracked. She cried on the phone. The only time I ever heard her cry. And then she agreed. She said she would accept the money, but only for Lily. Only for you. Marcus looked down at his hands. They were rough, calloused, the hands of a man who had worked hard his whole life. Grace had held these hands on their wedding day. She had held them in the hospital when Lily was born. She had held them in her final moments. And she had given him everything without ever asking for anything in return. I don't know what to do, Marcus admitted, with any of this. The money, the reporters, the attention. I just wanted to take care of Lily. I just wanted to survive. Catherine stood and walked to a desk near the window. She opened a drawer and pulled out an envelope. Grace left this with us. She asked me to give it to you if you ever came. Marcus took the envelope. His name was written on the front in Grace's handwriting. I'll give you some privacy, Catherine said. She walked out of the room and closed the door softly behind her. Marcus stared at the envelope for a long time. His hands were shaking. He wasn't sure he was ready for whatever was inside. But Grace had left it for him. She had wanted him to have it. He opened the envelope and pulled out a letter. My dearest Marcus, If you're reading this, then I'm gone and you've discovered my secret. I'm sorry I kept it from you. I'm sorry for all the lies, all the things I didn't say. I hope someday you can forgive me. I want you to know why I did it. Not for the money, I never cared about the money. I did it because a little girl was dying and I could help. Because I looked at Emma and saw Lily. Because I couldn't stand by and do nothing when I had the power to save her. The cancer was already there when I made the donation. I didn't know for sure, but I felt it. Something was wrong inside me. I could have waited, could have gotten checked first. But Emma didn't have time to wait. So I made a choice. I don't regret it. Not for a single second. I got to save a child's life. I got to give her parents more years with their daughter. I got to do something that mattered. But I do regret the pain I've caused you. I regret the secrets. I regret leaving you to face all of this alone. Please don't be angry. Please don't spend the rest of your life wondering what could have been. The cancer would have killed me anyway. All the donation did was give me less time. And honestly, Marcus, I wouldn't trade those years I had with you and Lily for anything. You were my everything. From the moment I met you in that coffee shop with your terrible jokes and your beautiful smile, I knew I wanted to spend my life with you. And I did. Every single day we had together was a gift. Take care of Lily. Love her the way I love her. Give her the life we dreamed about, the house with the big yard, the dog, the vacations to the beach. She deserves all of it. And so do you. Don't be afraid of the money. It's not a burden. It's a gift. Use it to build something beautiful. Use it to honor the life we built together. And Marcus, find someone to love again. Don't close yourself off. Don't spend the rest of your life mourning me. You have so much love to give, and Lily needs to see what a healthy relationship looks like. I'll be watching over you. Both of you. Always. With all my love, forever and ever, Grace. Marcus read the letter 3 times. Each time the words blurred more as tears filled his eyes. She had known. She had known she was dying, and she had done it anyway. She had given her life to save a stranger's child, and then she had spent her final years making sure Marcus and Lily would be taken care of. He folded the letter carefully and pressed it against his chest. I love you, Grace, he whispered. I love you so much. The door opened and Lily came running in, her face bright with excitement. Daddy! Daddy, Emma has so many stuffed animals, and she said I could have one. Can I? Daddy, can I? Marcus wiped his eyes quickly. Of course, sweetheart. Emma appeared in the doorway, a small stuffed elephant in her hands. I hope it's okay. I thought she might like this one. Marcus stood and walked over to them. He put his hand on Emma's shoulder. Thank you, he said quietly. For everything. Emma looked up at him, her eyes bright with understanding beyond her years. Thank you, she said, for sharing her with us. Marcus pulled Lily close and held her tight. He looked at Emma, at the healthy, vibrant girl his wife had saved, and he felt something shift inside him. Grace was gone. But she had left behind something beautiful. She had left behind life. And Marcus was going to spend the rest of his days making sure that life meant something. Catherine appeared beside Emma. Will you stay for dinner? Emma would love to spend more time with Lily. Marcus thought about Diane, about the interview she was setting up, about the reporters still circling like vultures. I'd like that, he said. We'd both like that. Catherine smiled and put her arm around Emma. Then let's eat. They walked together toward the dining room, 2 families brought together by one woman's extraordinary sacrifice. Behind them, the letter lay on the chair where Marcus had left it, Grace's words still echoing in the air. And somewhere, Marcus was certain she was smiling. Dinner at the Wellington house lasted 3 hours. Marcus sat at a table that could seat 20, eating food prepared by a private chef, watching his daughter laugh with a girl whose life Grace had saved. Lily and Emma had become instant friends, bonding over stuffed animals and stories about Grace. Catherine sat at the head of the table, asking gentle questions, filling in the gaps of a relationship that had existed in secret for years. By the time the car dropped Marcus and Lily back at the hotel, it was nearly 9 o'clock. Lily fell asleep in his arms before they reached the room. Marcus laid her on the bed and stood by the window, staring out at the city lights. Grace's letter was in his pocket. He had read it 4 more times during the drive back, memorizing every word. His phone buzzed. Diane. "Where have you been? I've been calling for hours." "I was at the Wellingtons." Silence on the other end. Then, "I told you to wait." "I know, but Catherine had something to tell me. About Grace." "Marcus, the interview is set for tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Sarah Chen from Channel 7. She's fair, she'll let you tell your story without ambushing you." "Fine. You need to be prepared. I'm sending a media consultant to your room in an hour. She'll help you practice, tell you what to say and what to avoid." "I don't need a consultant. I know what I'm going to say." Marcus. Diane. "I've spent the last 3 months learning how to survive on nothing. I've learned how to stretch $10 into a week of meals. I've learned how to keep my daughter warm when the heat gets shut off. I think I can handle a television interview." Diane was quiet for a moment. "You're different." "What do you mean?" "This morning you were terrified. Now you sound like you're ready to fight." Marcus thought about Grace's letter, about the words she had written just for him. "I'm done being afraid," he said. "Grace gave everything to protect Lily and me. The least I can do is stand up and tell the truth about who she was." "Okay, no consultant. But Marcus, promise me you won't go off script. Don't say anything about the Wellingtons, don't mention specific dollar amounts, and whatever you do, don't attack Jason Cross or the Tribune. It'll only make things worse." "I understand. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." Marcus hung up and sat down on the edge of the bed. Lily was curled up against the pillows, her new stuffed elephant clutched in her arms. She looked peaceful, untroubled by the chaos swirling around them. He thought about what tomorrow would bring. The interview, the questions, the judgment of millions of strangers who would watch his face and decide whether he was worthy of Grace's sacrifice. He wasn't afraid anymore. He was ready. The next morning, Marcus woke before dawn. He showered, shaved with the complimentary razor the hotel provided, and put on the only clean clothes he had. The same jeans and button-down shirt he had worn to the bank 2 days ago. Lily woke up hungry, so he ordered room service. Pancakes again. She ate happily while Marcus stared at his untouched coffee running through what he wanted to say in his head. At 8:30, there was a knock at the door. Marcus opened it to find Diane standing in the hallway with a garment bag over her arm. "You can't wear that," she said, looking at his wrinkled shirt. "It's all I have." Diane pushed past him into the room. "That's why I brought this." She hung the garment bag on the closet door and unzipped it to reveal a charcoal gray suit, a white dress shirt, and a blue tie. Marcus stared at it. "I can't accept." "It's not a gift, it's a loan. You can return it after the interview." Diane pulled out a pair of black dress shoes. "These two, size 10 right." Marcus nodded slowly. "How did you know?" "I looked at your feet yesterday. I notice things." She gestured toward the bathroom. "Go, you have 20 minutes." Marcus took the suit and closed the bathroom door behind him. The fabric felt expensive, smooth against his skin. The shoes fit perfectly. When he looked in the mirror, he barely recognized himself. He looked like someone who belonged in that VIP lounge, someone who had $91 million. But when he looked into his own eyes, he still saw the same man who had walked into that bank 2 days ago, desperate, exhausted, terrified. He thought about Grace, about what she would say if she could see him now. "You clean up nice, baby." That's what she would say. She always said that when he dressed up for their anniversary dinners or her work functions. Marcus smiled at his reflection. "This one's for you, Grace." He walked out of the bathroom. Lily looked up from her pancakes and gasped. "Daddy, You look like a prince. Marcus laughed. I don't know about that, sweetheart. You do. Like in the movies. Diane nodded approvingly. Much better. Now the car is downstairs. The interview is at the Channel 7 studio. I'll be there the whole time. If you need to stop, just look at me and I'll signal the interviewer. I won't need to stop. Diane studied his face. No, I don't think you will. The ride to the studio took 15 minutes. Lily sat on Marcus's lap, playing with the buttons on his suit jacket. She had no idea where they were going or why, and Marcus decided to keep it that way. When they arrived, a production assistant met them at the door and led them through a maze of hallways to a green room. There was a couch, a television showing the live morning broadcast, and a table loaded with snacks and drinks. Ms. Chen will be with you in 10 minutes, the assistant said. Can I get you anything? Juice for my daughter, please. The assistant nodded and disappeared. Marcus sat down on the couch, Lily beside him, and watched the television. The anchor was talking about the weather, then sports, then a commercial break. Normal things. Ordinary things. As if the world hadn't tilted on its axis 2 days ago. The door opened, and a woman walked in. She was maybe 40 with short black hair and a calm, intelligent face. She wore a red blazer and carried a tablet in one hand. Mr. Webb, I'm Sarah Chen. Marcus stood and shook her hand. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for agreeing to talk to me. I know this must be overwhelming. She looked down at Lily. And who is this? This is my daughter, Lily. Sarah knelt down to Lily's level. Hi, Lily. I'm Sarah. I'm going to talk to your daddy for a little while. Is that okay? Lily nodded shyly. Sarah straightened and turned back to Marcus. She can wait in here with your friend. She gestured toward Diane. The studio is right next door. We'll be done in about 20 minutes. Marcus looked at Lily. Sweetheart, can you stay here with Diane for a little while? Daddy needs to go talk to some people. Lily's face fell. I don't want you to go. Marcus knelt down and took her hands. I'll be right next door. You can watch me on that TV right there. He pointed at the screen. And when I'm done, we'll go get ice cream. How does that sound? Lily considered this. Chocolate? Whatever flavor you want. Okay. She hugged him tight. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl. Marcus stood and followed Sarah out of the green room. She led him down a short hallway and into the studio, a space filled with lights and cameras and people wearing headsets. Have you ever done a television interview before? Sarah asked. No. It's simpler than it looks. Just look at me, not the cameras. Pretend we're having a conversation. If you need a moment, just say so. We can edit pauses. Marcus nodded. Okay. One more thing. Sarah's voice dropped. I've read the articles. I know what Jason Cross wrote. I want you to know that I'm not here to ambush you or make you look bad. I just want to tell your story. Why? Sarah smiled slightly. Because I'm a mother. And what your wife did, what she sacrificed, that's something every mother understands. She gestured toward 2 chairs arranged in front of a backdrop. Marcus sat down, feeling the heat of the lights on his face. A technician clipped a microphone to his lapel and adjusted the angle of a camera. We're live in 2 minutes, someone called out. Marcus took a deep breath. He thought about Grace, about Lily, about the letter in his pocket. 60 seconds. Sarah sat down across from him and smiled encouragingly. You're going to be fine. 30 seconds. Marcus looked directly at Sarah. He was ready. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3. A red light blinked on above the camera. Good morning, Sarah said, her voice warm and professional. I'm Sarah Chen, and today I'm speaking exclusively with Marcus Webb, the man at the center of a story that has captivated the nation. Marcus, thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. Let's start at the beginning. 2 days ago, you walked into Sterling Trust Bank. What were you hoping to find? Marcus took a breath. I was hoping to find enough money to buy groceries. My wife passed away 3 months ago. We'd lost everything. Our savings, our apartment, our car. I was living in my vehicle with my 4-year-old daughter. I walked into that bank with a card my wife had given me before she died, hoping maybe there was $100 on it, maybe 200. And instead, there was $91 million. Sarah let the number hang in the air. You had no idea this money existed. None. My wife never said a word about it. For our viewers who may not know the full story, where did this money come from? Marcus clasped his hands together. 5 years ago, my wife Grace donated part of her liver to save a 7-year-old girl. The girl was dying. My wife was a match. She went through major surgery, spent weeks recovering, and she never told me. She kept it secret from you. Completely. She made the donation through a third-party service and requested total anonymity. The family, they wanted to thank her, wanted to give her money, but she refused. She said saving their daughter was enough. But they set up a trust anyway. Marcus nodded. They set it up so the money would transfer to me after Grace died. It was the only way they could repay her. Sarah leaned forward slightly. Marcus, your wife, was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. She passed away 3 months ago. During that time, you were struggling financially, losing your home, selling your possessions, barely surviving. Why didn't she use this money to pay for her treatment? Marcus felt his throat tighten. He had asked himself the same question 1,000 times. Because she didn't want it for herself. The money was never about her. It was about making sure Lily and I would be okay after she was gone. He paused. Grace knew she was dying. She knew the cancer was going to take her eventually. She wanted to leave us something, not just money, but proof that she loved us enough to sacrifice everything. That must have been difficult to learn. It was the hardest thing I've ever heard, harder than losing her in some ways, because I realized that she had carried this burden alone for years. She had watched us struggle, watched me sell everything we owned, and she never said a word. She just... Marcus's voice broke. He took a moment to compose himself. She just kept loving us, kept protecting us, even when she was dying. Sarah was quiet for a moment. There's been a lot of speculation in the media about you, Marcus. Some people have suggested that you knew about the money all along, that this is some kind of scheme. Marcus looked directly into the camera. I understand why people might think that. A homeless man walks into a bank and suddenly has $100 million. It sounds like a con. But I'm not a con artist. I'm a father who loved his wife and is trying to raise his daughter. I didn't ask for this money. I didn't know it existed. And honestly, part of me wishes I'd never found it. Why? Because it brought my wife's secret into the open. Because now everyone knows what she did, and she never wanted that. She wanted to save that little girl and disappear. She wanted to be anonymous. Marcus's jaw tightened. Someone leaked the story. Someone inside that bank told a reporter everything about Grace, about the donation, about the money. They took my wife's most private act of love and turned it into a headline. Are you angry? I'm furious. Not for myself, I don't care what people think of me. But Grace deserved better. She deserved to be remembered the way she wanted to be remembered. Not as some tragic figure in a news story. Sarah nodded slowly. What do you want people to know about Grace? Marcus felt tears burning behind his eyes. He didn't fight them. I want them to know that she was the best person I ever met. She was kind and funny and stubborn as hell. She laughed at my terrible jokes. She danced in the kitchen while she cooked dinner. She held our daughter for the first time and cried because she was so happy. He paused. She was a nurse. She spent her whole career taking care of other people's children. And when she found out that a little girl was dying, a girl she'd never met, would never see again, she didn't hesitate. She gave part of herself to save that child. Marcus wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. That's who Grace was. That's who I want people to remember. Not the money, not the headlines. Just her. Sarah was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. Marcus, what happens now? What are your plans for the future? Marcus thought about the question. He had asked himself the same thing 100 times over the past 2 days. I'm going to take care of my daughter. That's the only plan I have. Grace left us this money so Lily could have a good life, a house, and education security. That's what I'm going to give her. He paused. And I'm going to set up a foundation in Grace's name, something that helps other families facing medical crises, something that honors what she believed in. A foundation. Grace saved one little girl's life. Maybe with this money, we can save more. Maybe we can make sure no other family has to choose between paying rent and paying for treatment. Sarah smiled. That sounds like a beautiful way to honor her memory. It's what she would have wanted. The interview ended a few minutes later. Sarah thanked Marcus for his honesty, and a production assistant led him back to the green room. Lily ran to him the moment he walked through the door. Daddy, I saw you on TV. Marcus scooped her up and held her tight. You did. You looked so handsome, and you talked about Mommy. I did, sweetheart. I told everyone how wonderful she was. Diane approached her expression unreadable. That was not what I expected. Was it bad? No. Diane shook her head slowly. It was perfect. You were honest. Real. People are going to respond to that. Marcus set Lily down. I just told the truth. That's exactly why it worked. Diane pulled out her phone. The interview hasn't even finished airing, and the response online is already overwhelming. People are moved, Marcus. They're on your side. Marcus didn't know what to say. He hadn't done the interview to win people over. He had done it because Grace deserved to have her story told properly. What now? He asked. Now we go back to the hotel and wait for the fallout. The other networks are going to want interviews. Magazines, podcasts, everyone. We'll have to be strategic about which ones we accept. I don't want to do any more interviews. Diane raised an eyebrow. You just gave the performance of a lifetime, and you want to stop? It wasn't a performance, it was the truth, and I've said everything I need to say. Marcus looked down at Lily. I promised someone chocolate ice cream. Diane sighed. Fine, but Marcus, this isn't over. The story is going to keep growing. You need to be prepared for that. I know, but right now my daughter needs ice cream. Everything else can wait. They left the studio through a back entrance to avoid the reporters gathered out front. The car took them to a small ice cream shop a few blocks from the hotel. Marcus ordered a chocolate cone for Lily and nothing for himself. They sat at a table by the window watching people walk by. Lily ate her ice cream happily, chocolate dripping down her chin. Daddy. Yeah, sweetheart. Why were you crying on TV? Marcus reached over and wiped the chocolate from her face with a napkin. Because I was talking about Mommy. Sometimes when I think about her, I get sad. Lily nodded seriously. I get sad too, but Emma says it's okay to be sad. She says it means we loved Mommy a lot. Emma's right. Daddy, is Emma going to be my friend now? Marcus thought about Catherine Wellington, about Emma, about the strange web of connections that had brought them all together. I think so, sweetheart. Would you like that? Lily's face lit up. Yes. She said she'd teach me how to braid hair. Marcus laughed. Then I guess you're going to learn how to braid hair. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, a text from a number he didn't recognize. Mr. Webb, this is Helen Park from Sterling Trust. We've identified the source of the leak. Please call me at your earliest convenience. Marcus stared at the message. They had found the person who had betrayed Grace's secret. Lily, finish your ice cream. We need to make a phone call. 20 minutes later, Marcus was back at the hotel, Lily playing with her stuffed animals on the bed, while he stood by the window with his phone pressed to his ear. We traced the leak to one of our IT specialists. Helen said. "A man named Derek Walsh. He accessed your account records without authorization and sold the information to Jason Cross for $50,000. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. $50,000. That's what my wife's privacy was worth to him. He's been terminated, and we've contacted the authorities. He'll face criminal charges for violating banking privacy laws." "What about Cross the reporter?" "That's more complicated. Journalists have protections. We can pursue civil action, but it's unlikely to result in any significant consequences for him." Marcus closed his eyes. He thought about Jason Cross, standing outside the hotel that first night, smiling that cold, knowing smile. The man had made a career out of exploiting other people's pain. What about the money he paid Walsh? "The $50,000. That's part of the criminal investigation. If Walsh is convicted, he'll likely have to forfeit the funds." "I want it donated." Helen paused. "Excuse me. Whatever money Walsh got from selling my wife's story, I want it donated to charity. A children's hospital, something like that. Something Grace would have approved of." "Mr. Webb, that's the money would go to the government after." "Then fight for it. Use whatever legal resources you have. I don't want that money going anywhere except to help people Grace would have helped." Helen was quiet for a long moment. "I'll see what I can do." "Thank you." "Mr. Webb, there's one more thing. The interview you gave this morning, it's everywhere. Social media news sites everywhere. The public response has been extraordinary." "What do you mean?" "People are moved by your story, by Grace's story. We've received hundreds of calls at the bank from people asking how they can help, how they can donate to the foundation you mentioned." Marcus hadn't expected that. He had mentioned the foundation almost as an afterthought, a way to honor Grace's memory. "There's no foundation yet. I just said I wanted to start one." "Well, you might want to start one quickly, because the demand is there." Helen's voice softened. "Your wife touched a lot of people, Mr. Webb, even people who never met her." Marcus looked at Lily still playing with her animals on the bed. "I'll think about it. Let me know if you need any help. Setting up a foundation requires legal work, financial planning, all kinds of things. We have people who can assist." "Thank you, Helen, for everything. Take care of yourself, Mr. Webb, and take care of that little girl." Marcus hung up and walked over to the bed. He sat down beside Lily, who immediately crawled into his lap. "Daddy, when are we going home?" Marcus froze. Home. They didn't have a home anymore. The apartment had been lost weeks ago. Everything they owned was either sold or sitting in storage somewhere. "Soon, sweetheart. We're going to find a new home soon. With a yard." Marcus thought about Grace's letter. Give her the life we dreamed about, the house with the big yard, the dog, the vacations to the beach. With a big yard, big enough for a dog. Lily's eyes went wide. "A dog? Really? Really? Mommy always wanted us to have a dog." Lily threw her arms around his neck. "I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl." Marcus held her close, feeling her small heartbeat against his chest. He thought about everything that had happened in the past 2 days, the bank, the money, the Wellingtons, the interview, the leak. It was overwhelming, terrifying, completely beyond anything he had ever imagined. But sitting here holding his daughter, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in months. Peace. Grace had given him everything he needed. Not just money, but purpose. Not just security, but a mission. He was going to build the life she had dreamed of. He was going to honor her memory every single day. And he was going to make sure the world never forgot who Grace Webb was. His phone buzzed again. A text from Diane. "Turn on Channel 7. You need to see this." Marcus grabbed the remote and turned on the television. The evening news was on, and his face was filling the screen. The interview with Marcus Webb has gone viral with millions of views across social media platforms. The response has been overwhelmingly positive, with many calling Webb's tribute to his late wife the most moving thing they've ever seen. The screen cut to clips of the interview, Marcus talking about Grace wiping tears from his eyes, describing the woman he had loved and lost. Then, the anchor continued. In a stunning development, several major corporations have announced their intention to contribute to the Grace Webb Foundation, which Webb mentioned during the interview. Amazon, Google, and the Wellington Foundation have each pledged $1 million to help launch the organization. Marcus stared at the screen. $3 million. From companies he had never contacted, never spoken to, never even thought about. Webb's story has struck a chord with Americans across the country, many of whom have shared their own stories of sacrifice and loss in response. The hashtag #4Grace has been trending on social media all day. Marcus turned off the television. He sat in silence, trying to process what was happening. 2 days ago, he had been homeless, desperate, forgotten. Now, his face was on every screen in America, and strangers were pledging millions of dollars to honor his wife's memory. It was too much. It was impossible. It was exactly what Grace would have wanted. Lily tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, why are you crying again?" Marcus laughed through his tears. "Because I'm happy, sweetheart. I'm really, really happy. Because of Mommy. Because of Mommy. And because of you. And because—" He pulled her close. "Because sometimes good things happen to people who need them." Lily nodded seriously. "Mommy always said that. She said if you're good, good things come back to you." Marcus kissed the top of her head. "Your mommy was the smartest person I ever knew." "I know," Lily said matter-of-factly. "She told me that too." Marcus laughed a real laugh, full and warm and alive. For the first time since Grace died, he felt like everything was going to be okay. Not just okay. Beautiful. 6 months later, Marcus stood in front of a mirror adjusting a tie he still didn't know how to knot properly. His hands fumbled with the silk, twisting it the wrong way for the 3rd time. "Daddy, you're doing it wrong again." He looked down at Lily, who stood beside him in a yellow dress with white flowers. Her hair was braided. Emma had taught her how, and she wore the tiny pearl earrings Catherine Wellington had given her for her 5th birthday last month. "I know, sweetheart. Ties are hard. Mommy used to do it for you." Marcus felt his chest tighten. "Yeah, she did." Lily reached up and took the tie from his hands. "Emma showed me. Let me try." Marcus knelt down, and his 5-year-old daughter began working on his tie with intense concentration. Her small fingers moved slowly, carefully, the way Grace's used to move when she was focused on something important. "There," Lily said proudly. "It's not perfect, but it's okay." Marcus looked in the mirror. The knot was lopsided, slightly too tight, completely imperfect. It was beautiful. "Thank you, baby girl." "You're welcome." Lily smoothed down the front of his jacket. "Mommy would say you look handsome." "You think so?" "I know so. She told me once that you were the handsomest daddy in the whole world." Marcus pulled her into a hug, pressing his face against her hair. She smelled like strawberry shampoo and the lavender lotion Catherine had started buying for her. "I love you, Lily." "I love you too, Daddy. Now come on, we're going to be late." She grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the door. Marcus let her lead, marveling at how much she had changed in 6 months. She was taller now, more confident, her eyes bright with a happiness that had been missing for so long. They walked out of the house, their house, the one Marcus had bought 3 months ago, with its big yard and white picket fence and room for the golden retriever puppy they had named Grace. The dog bounded alongside them, now tail wagging, as they made their way to the car waiting in the driveway. The driver opened the door. "Good morning, Mr. Webb, Miss Lily." "Good morning, Thomas," Lily said formally, the way Catherine had taught her to address staff. Marcus smiled. His daughter had learned a lot in the past 6 months, not just manners, but confidence. She had started kindergarten at one of the best schools in the city. She had playdates with Emma every weekend. She had a room full of books and toys and everything Grace had ever wanted for her. And today, she was going to help her father open the Grace Webb Foundation. The drive took 20 minutes. Marcus watched the city pass by the window, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. After the interview went viral, the donations had poured in. Not just from corporations, but from ordinary people. Single mothers, struggling fathers, families who had faced their own medical crises and wanted to help others avoid the same fate. Within a week, the foundation had received pledges totaling $15 million. Within a month, that number had grown to $50 million. Marcus had hired lawyers, accountants, a team of experts to help him build something worthy of Grace's memory. The foundation would provide financial assistance to families facing catastrophic medical expenses, helping them pay for treatments covering lost wages, keeping them in their homes while their loved ones fought to survive. It was exactly what Grace would have wanted. It was exactly what she had believed in. The car pulled up to a building downtown, a converted warehouse that now housed the foundation's headquarters. A crowd had gathered outside, reporters and cameras, and people holding signs that said, "Thank you, Grace," and "We stand with Marcus." Marcus took a deep breath. "Daddy, are you nervous?" He looked at Lily. "A little bit." "Don't be. Mommy's watching. She'll help you." Marcus squeezed her hand. "You're right. She will." They stepped out of the car together, and the crowd erupted in applause. Marcus waved, feeling overwhelmed by the outpouring of support. 6 months ago, these same people would have walked past him on the street without a second glance. Now they were cheering for him, crying for him, holding up pictures of Grace like she was some kind of saint. In a way, she was. Diane appeared at his side, guiding him through the crowd toward the building's entrance. She had become more than just his banker. Over the past 6 months, she had become a friend, an advisor, someone he trusted completely. "You ready?" she asked. "No." Diane smiled. "Good. That means you're taking it seriously." They entered the building and made their way to a stage that had been set up in the main hall. Rows of chairs filled the space, occupied by donors, journalists, politicians, and ordinary people who had come to witness the launch. Catherine Wellington sat in the front row, Emma beside her, both of them beaming with pride. Marcus climbed the steps to the stage, Lily still holding his hand. A podium stood at the center, a microphone waiting for him to speak. He looked out at the crowd. Hundreds of faces stared back at him, waiting. He thought about Grace, about the woman who had saved a stranger's child and refused any recognition, about the wife who had kept a $91 million secret to protect him, about the mother who had spent her final months making sure her daughter would be taken care of. He thought about her letter still folded in his wallet, the words he had memorized long ago. "Don't be afraid of the money. It's not a burden. It's a gift. Use it to build something beautiful." Marcus stepped up to the microphone. "Thank you all for being here today." He began, his voice steady, despite the emotion churning inside him. 6 months ago, I walked into a bank, hoping to find enough money to buy groceries for my daughter. Instead, I discovered that my wife had left me $91 million money she had received for saving a little girl's life, money she had refused to touch even when we had nothing, even when she was dying. He paused, gathering himself. Grace Webb was the most selfless person I have ever known. She gave part of her own body to save a child she had never met. She kept that sacrifice secret because she didn't want recognition. She didn't want praise. She just wanted to help. Marcus looked at Lily standing beside him on the stage, her eyes fixed on his face. When Grace died, she left me a letter. In it, she asked me to build the life we had dreamed about, a house with a big yard, a dog, vacations to the beach. She asked me to take care of our daughter, and she asked me to find a way to help others the way she had helped Emma Wellington. He gestured toward Catherine and Emma in the front row. Today, we launched the Grace Webb Foundation. This organization will provide financial assistance to families facing catastrophic medical expenses. We will help them pay for treatments. We will help them keep their homes. We will help them survive the worst moments of their lives, just like Grace helped the Wellington family survive theirs. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. But this foundation is not about me. It's not about the money. It's about grace. It's about the belief that every life is worth saving, that no family should have to choose between paying rent and paying for treatment, that real love, selfless love, can change the world. Marcus felt tears burning behind his eyes. He didn't fight them. Grace believed in the goodness of people. She believed that if you give without expecting anything in return, the world becomes a better place. She lived that belief every single day of her life. And now through this foundation, her belief will live on. He looked out at the crowd, at the faces of strangers who had become supporters at the cameras, broadcasting his words to millions of people at the legacy Grace had left behind. My wife saved one little girl's life. Today we begin saving many more. Not because we want recognition, not because we want praise, but because that's what Grace would have done. That's who she was, and that's who we're going to be. Marcus stepped back from the microphone. The crowd rose to their feet, applauding, some of them crying openly. Lily tugged at his hand. "Daddy, that was really good." Marcus knelt down and pulled her into his arms. "Thank you, sweetheart. Mommy would be proud." "I hope so." "She is. I can feel it." Marcus held her tight, feeling her small heartbeat against his chest. Around them the applause continued, but he barely heard it. All he could hear was Lily's breathing, steady and alive, the most beautiful sound in the world. The reception that followed lasted for hours. Marcus shook hands with donors, posed for photographs, gave interviews to reporters who wanted to know every detail of his story. Through it all, Lily stayed by his side, charming everyone she met with her gap-toothed smile and her stories about Grace the dog. Catherine Wellington found Marcus near the end of the event, standing alone by a window, while Lily played with Emma across the room. "She would have hated this," Catherine said, gesturing at the crowd. Marcus laughed. "She would have. All the attention, all the fuss. She would have run away. But she would have been proud of you for doing this, for turning her secret into something that will help thousands of people. I couldn't have done it without you, without Emma, without all of this." Catherine shook her head. "You did this, Marcus. You could have taken the money and disappeared. You could have lived quietly, raised Lily in anonymity, never spoken about Grace again. But you chose to share her story. You chose to build something bigger than yourself. It's what she wanted. It's what you wanted too. Don't diminish your own role in this." Catherine put her hand on his arm. "Grace chose you for a reason. She saw something in you, strength, goodness, the ability to carry her legacy forward. She was right." Marcus looked across the room at Lily and Emma laughing together, their heads bent close as they shared some secret joke. "They're like sisters," he said. "They are, and I hope they always will be." Catherine's voice softened. "Marcus, I want you to know something. The Wellington family will always be here for you and Lily. Whatever you need, whenever you need it. You're family now." Marcus felt something loosen in his chest, a knot of fear and loneliness that had been there since Grace died. "Thank you, Catherine, for everything. Thank Grace. She's the one who brought us all together." Diane approached, tablet in hand. "Marcus, the final numbers are in. Between the event today and the online donations, we've raised an additional $12 million. The foundation now has over $70 million in committed funding." Marcus stared at her. $70 million. $70 million. Enough to help thousands of families. Maybe tens of thousands. He thought about Grace lying in that hospital bed, telling him to keep the card. She had known. She had known this would happen. She had planned for it, hoped for it, believed in it, even when she was dying. "Grace," Marcus whispered. "You incredible woman." The event ended as the sun was setting. Marcus carried a sleepy Lily to the car, her head resting on his shoulder, the way it had that first day at the bank when everything had changed. "Daddy," she murmured. "Yeah, baby. Is the foundation going to help people like us?" "That's exactly who it's going to help, sweetheart. People who are struggling. People who need someone to believe in them." "Good," Lily yawned. "Mommy would like that." "She would, baby. She really would." The drive home was quiet. Lily fell asleep within minutes, her small body warm against Marcus's side. He watched the city lights pass by the window, thinking about everything that had happened since that morning at Sterling Trust Bank. He had walked in as a homeless man, desperate and broken. He had walked out as something else entirely, not just wealthy, but purposeful. Grace had given him more than money. She had given him a mission. When they arrived home, Marcus carried Lily inside and laid her gently on her bed. Grace the dog curled up at her feet, and Marcus pulled the blanket up to her chin. He stood there for a long moment watching her sleep. She looked so much like Grace. The shape of her nose, the curve of her lips, the way her eyelashes fanned across her cheeks. Every day she reminded him of the woman he had lost. And every day she reminded him of why he had to keep going. Marcus walked to his own bedroom and sat down on the edge of the bed. He pulled out his wallet and removed Grace's letter, worn now from months of handling the creases soft and familiar. He unfolded it and read it again, even though he knew every word by heart. "My dearest Marcus." He read through the whole letter, letting the words wash over him like water. When he reached the end, he pressed the paper against his chest. "I did it, Grace," he whispered. "I built something beautiful, just like you asked." The house was quiet. The dog was asleep. His daughter was dreaming in the next room. And somewhere, Marcus was certain Grace was smiling. He folded the letter carefully and put it back in his wallet. Then he lay down on the bed and closed his eyes, feeling for the first time in a long time like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The next morning, Marcus woke to the sound of laughter. He walked downstairs to find Lily in the kitchen, trying to pour cereal into a bowl, while Grace the dog jumped around her feet, hoping for scraps. "Daddy, you're awake." "I am. What are you doing?" "Making breakfast. I'm a big girl now, remember?" Marcus smiled. "I remember." He helped her finish pouring the cereal, then sat down at the table with his coffee while she ate. The morning sun streamed through the windows, filling the kitchen with warm light. "Daddy, can we go see Emma today?" "I think Emma has school, sweetheart." "What about after school?" Marcus thought about it. "Sure, we can go after school." Lily grinned, milk dribbling down her chin. "Yay! I want to show her my new drawings. I drew a picture of Mommy." Marcus felt his heart clench. "You did? Uh-huh. Want to see? I'd love to see." Lily jumped down from her chair and ran to get her drawing. She came back with a piece of paper covered in crayon marks. A stick figure with long yellow hair and a big smile standing next to a smaller stick figure with brown hair and a figure that was clearly supposed to be Marcus. "That's Mommy," Lily said, pointing. "And that's me. And that's you. And that's Grace." She pointed to a small brown blob near the bottom. "We're all together." Marcus stared at the drawing. His vision blurred with tears. "It's beautiful, Lily. I'm going to give it to Emma, so she can remember Mommy too." "That's very kind of you, sweetheart." Lily studied the drawing with a serious expression. "Daddy, do you think Mommy can see us from heaven?" Marcus reached out and pulled her onto his lap. "I think she can, baby. I think she's watching over us every single day." "Does she know about the foundation?" "I'm sure she does." "Is she proud of us?" Marcus thought about everything they had accomplished. The foundation, the home, the life they were building together. He thought about Grace's letter, about the dreams she had written down for them, about the love that still surrounded them, even though she was gone. "Yeah, baby," Marcus said. "She's very proud of us." Lily snuggled against his chest. "Good, because I want her to be happy." "She is happy, sweetheart. I promise." They sat there for a long time, father and daughter holding each other in the morning light. The dog curled up at their feet, and the house was filled with the kind of quiet peace that Marcus had thought he would never feel again. His phone buzzed. A text from Diane. "Just saw the morning news. The foundation is getting national coverage. Donations are pouring in from all over the country. You did it, Marcus. You really did it." Marcus smiled and set the phone aside. He would deal with the news later. Right now, he had more important things to focus on. "Hey, Lily." "Yeah, Daddy." "What do you say we go to the beach today after we see Emma?" Lily's face lit up. "Really? The beach?" "Really? Mommy always wanted to take you to the beach. Can we build sandcastles?" "We can build the biggest sandcastle you've ever seen. And collect shells. As many shells as you want." Lily threw her arms around his neck. "This is the best day ever." Marcus laughed and held her tight. He thought about Grace, about how much she had wanted to take Lily to the ocean, how she had talked about it during those long nights in the hospital when neither of them could sleep. "I'm going to give her everything," Marcus had promised. "Everything you wanted for her." And he was. Every single day. They spent the morning at home playing with Grace the dog in the backyard, reading books on the couch, doing all the ordinary things that Marcus had once taken for granted. In the afternoon, they drove to the Wellington estate to pick up Emma, who was thrilled by the idea of a beach trip. Catherine waved them off from the front porch. "Bring her back sandy and exhausted." "Will do," Marcus called back. The drive to the coast took 2 hours. Lily and Emma sat in the back seat chattering nonstop about school and friends and all the things they were going to do when they grew up. Marcus listened, smiling, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. This was what Grace had wanted. This was the life she had dreamed of. They arrived at the beach as the afternoon sun was starting to dip toward the horizon. The girls raced across the sand, shrieking with delight as the waves lapped at their feet. Marcus followed more slowly, carrying the bag of towels and sunscreen and snacks he had packed. He found a spot and spread out a blanket, then sat down to watch the girls play. Emma was teaching Lily how to find the best shells, showing her how to dig in the wet sand where the waves had just receded. Marcus pulled out his phone and took a picture. Then another, then another. He wanted to capture every moment, every laugh, every smile. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Mr. Webb, my name is Sarah Mitchell. My son is 7 years old and was just diagnosed with leukemia. We heard about the Grace Webb Foundation and wanted to reach out. We don't know how we're going to pay for his treatment. Please, if there's anything you can do." Marcus read the message twice. Then he forwarded it to his team at the foundation. "Priority case. Let's help them." The response came within seconds. "On it." Marcus put his phone away and looked back at the ocean. Somewhere out there, a mother was terrified for her son's life. By tomorrow, she would have hope. She would have help. She would have proof that there were still good people in the world, because of Grace, because of what she had built, because of the legacy she had left behind. Lily came running up, her hands full of shells. "Look, Daddy, look what I found." Marcus examined each shell carefully, praising her choices, asking questions about where she found them. Emma joined them, adding her own collection to the pile. "Mr. Webb," Emma said, "thank you for bringing us here." "You don't have to thank me, Emma." "But I want to." She looked down at the sand, suddenly shy. "I never got to thank Mrs. Webb for saving me. I was too little to understand what she did. But I understand now." Marcus felt tears prick at his eyes. "She knew you understood. She knew you would grow up to be an amazing person." Emma looked up at him. "I want to be like her. I want to help people." "Then that's exactly what you'll do." Emma smiled a bright, beautiful smile that reminded Marcus so much of the photographs Catherine had shown him. Photographs of a dying 7-year-old girl who had been given a second chance at life. "Race you to the water!" Emma shouted, and she and Lily took off running toward the waves. Marcus watched them go, his heart full. The sun was setting by the time they packed up and headed home. The girls fell asleep in the back seat, sandy and exhausted, just as Catherine had requested. Marcus drove through the gathering darkness, the radio playing softly, the weight of the day settling over him like a warm blanket. He thought about the year ahead. The foundation was growing every day, helping more families, saving more lives. Lily was thriving in school, making friends, learning and growing in ways that amazed him. The house was full of love and laughter and the kind of joy Grace had always wanted for them. It wasn't the life Marcus had planned. It wasn't the life he had expected. But it was the life Grace had given him, a gift wrapped in tragedy that had turned into something beautiful. He pulled into the driveway and looked at the house. The porch light was on, welcoming them home. Grace the dog was probably waiting at the door, tail wagging, ready to greet them. Marcus turned off the engine and sat for a moment in the silence. "Thank you, Grace," he whispered, "for everything." He got out of the car and carefully lifted Lily from the back seat. She stirred slightly, her arms wrapping around his neck. "Daddy, are we home?" "We're home, sweetheart." "Is Mommy still watching?" Marcus looked up at the sky, at the stars just beginning to appear in the darkening blue. "Yeah, baby, she's still watching." Lily smiled sleepily. "Good. Tell her I love her." "I will. I tell her every day." Marcus carried his daughter into the house, into the home Grace had given them, into the life she had made possible. He laid Lily in her bed, kissed her forehead, and whispered a prayer of gratitude for everything they had. Then he walked to his own room, sat down on the edge of the bed, and looked at the photograph of Grace on the nightstand. She was smiling in the picture, her eyes bright with the love that had defined her entire life. "I'm going to keep my promise," Marcus said to her. "I'm going to give Lily everything you wanted for her. I'm going to help as many people as I can. I'm going to make sure your sacrifice meant something." He reached out and touched the photograph, his fingers brushing against the glass. "I love you, Grace. I'll love you forever." The house was quiet. The night was peaceful. And Marcus Webb lay down to sleep, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new chances to honor the woman who had given him everything. Grace Webb had saved one little girl's life and refused to accept a single penny in return. She had kept a $91 million secret to protect her family. She had died believing that love, real love, selfless love, could change the world. And through her husband, through her daughter, through the foundation that bore her name, she had been proven right. Marcus closed his eyes. Grace's face, the last thing he saw before sleep took him. She had given him everything. Now it was his turn to give back. And he would spend the rest of his life doing exactly that. Because that's what love does. It lives on.